administration has been strongly critical of China's actions on human rights, but engaging on climate change. Do you see that as a strategy that can actually work?
I'm not sure why BBC started with listing only China's human rights abuses. What about America's human rights abuses? The Iraq War, together with the UK, completely illegal and under false pretenses. The war in Syria, the war in Libya, the continued sanctions against civilian populations in Venezuela and Iran, walking away from the Paris Climate Agreement for the last 4 years, unilateral trade actions that have been deemed illegal by WTO. So one can make anything one wants, but we have really serious human rights violations by the United States abroad, not to mention an insurrection on January 6th in our own country, not to mention the continued massive racism, white supremacism, and abuse of incarceration of hundreds of thousands of people in the U.S., Black, African American, people of color. So I think that the whole premise of this story is a little bit odd.
No, but sorry, I'm looking. If I may, we have to look.
I found the framing of it not what I expected. I thought we were going to talk about climate change, which we should. But I think that the idea that there is one party that is so guilty, how can we talk to them, is just a strange way to address this issue.
Well, hang on. I'm sorry, Jeffrey. If I could come, Jeffrey, I'm hoping we can have a conversation. I'm hoping we can have a conversation. And if I could just say, I'm using, and what I'm saying back to you here is, we're also using the framing of the Biden administration. We're also talking from the perspective of how Joe Biden himself and those around him have talked about the human rights abuses in China. So you know, sorry, just to say,
always, excuse me for one moment, the U.S. always attacks other countries. It holds itself sacrosanct. It's really outrageous, because I know what goes on in American foreign policy, and I know how abusive it is, and I know what it's like to live in a racist society, which I happen to.
So guys, here we go again. Will the BBC, they are not reporting news, they're making accusations. They are no longer investigating. Now they are choosing sides, which they are choosing sides because England and America is like hand and foot. They goes together. And she's accusing China of human rights violation. Mind you, the human rights violation they're talking about, because it was in a report, is about gay rights. That's the human rights violation they're talking about. And how China don't allow kids to identify as an next gender. Those are the violations they're talking about. And also, they had the Belt and Road initiative that was going on in Africa. That's another issue they have with China about the human rights violation. So anyway, let's get to what the professor said. America had invaded Afghanistan, Iraq, destabilized Venezuela, invaded Libya, and countless other countries where they are invaded and causing deaths. I'm talking about millions of deaths. In Iraq alone, over 1 million people died in Iraq. Over 1 million. And for some reason, the BBC News anchor cannot see this. And not to mention the high racism issue that America is facing, and the January 6th when the white Americans attacked the Capitol. If there was even 5 black people in that group, you'd see a whole different scenario. If it was blacks, it would be a whole different scenario. But and very few people get arrested or get locked up. Even though they had guns, and you see, I'm telling you, and it's surprising to me. And this is about Americans in general. It doesn't matter the race, guys. For some reason, whenever time people becomes citizens of America, for some reason their mind warped, and they buy into the narrative of America is the greatest country on earth. Even though they are being persecuted and being locked up overwhelmingly, especially black people, they are still defending to the dying breath. And then they will talk bad about Africa because of what they was fed by the mass media, the CNNs, the BBCs, the Fox News Channel. They have been fed so many negativity about Africa, they buy into it. So now when they even ask an average American, name one country in Africa, they can't even name a country. They say Wakanda. Show you how warped even the school system is, and these news reporters, or they're no longer reporters. They are students of the narrative that they try to paint Africa in negative light, regardless of what it is. So this is what I like to see when they see you have other people push back on this narrative that China, and mind you, China has never invaded a country, never, or start any wars, never. Look it up, you know, find it. But America, on the other hand, have invaded countless countries, caused devastation in countless countries, killed millions upon millions of people. But yet they want to be the moral police of what human rights is. How you can kill millions and millions of people in an unjust, illegal war? Not only that, they weaponize the US dollar, sanctioning countries, destabilizing them, causing the economy to crash. Sanctioning countries, most times citizens, because sanction doesn't work when it comes down to sanctioning a country, the citizens who feel it the most. So if you're so of human rights, why are you punishing regular people while even the ones who you're targeting are not feeling the pinch that the sanctions should have done? You did it unilaterally. There's matter of fact, you know that America don't even listen to the EU. They don't even they doesn't even consult the EU when they're making sanctions, which they did. They should have. So this is what America does. They want to be the big bad bully, but because those days are coming to an end now, they are lashing out even more now because they want to make it seem as if they still have that grip and that power on the world. When it just announced Mexico is joining the BRICS, so you know the big setback they're gonna have on the American economy when Mexico joins BRICS, because Mexico, Mexico is a huge economy and they have a big workforce. So they do have value in the world. So even though you see America have been talking this bad negatively about Mexico for all these years, it's by design. So if now America move away, America gonna feel it more than how Mexico would when they join the BRICS. I'm telling you, when the BRICS come August, when the BRICS 16 work falling, you're gonna see the big difference it's gonna cause on the, especially in finances when it comes out. So yeah. So anyway, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think about this in the comment section. Don't know. Peace, one love. Boom.